ba-da-da-da-da-boo-da-da-da. You got something going on in there. That loop and all of the busyness and the syncopation of that is going to get in the way. I wanted this part to feel more intimate. You know what I mean? I wanted it to feel very kind of like we're in church. There's no loop that happens at the beginning. You know, that there are songs where that's cool to do. You know, I could have and came into the record that way. But slowing down is kind of off-putting, off rhythm, and we're kind of transitioning. Now, it doesn't actually break they don't go off grid. It's syncopated in the rhythm. So if I got this static loop going, I'm gonna lose. I like to go really, really heavy with perc programming. And what we did with this, of course, I utilize Loop Elements Deluxe, boys and girls. Make sure you guys grab this. I'm gonna keep it up on the screen while I talk about it. Loop Elements really helped me make this record work into what it is. All the effects. So check out what all is going on here. So if you're looking for that kind of vibe, and if you know what Loop Elements is, it really, you know, allows you to play your loops into your DAW or into your sequence or what have you, to your arrangement, with just, you know, being able to create really fat loops, you know, on the fly. So let's talk about what the percussion is doing, because there's several little things that I want to kind of highlight with the percussion that made this record what it is, and some really good things that you guys would miss if you're not paying attention. So if I come out of the solo, first of all, there's no loop that happens at the beginning. You know, that there are songs where that's cool to do. You know, I could have and came into the record that way, but I chose not to do that. I chose to kind of leave it open on the beginning. So the loop doesn't actually come in until the first part of the record itself. All right. So then we get into it. Then we have like these big hits that kind of come in. They kind of come in on that. Look, it's right in there. And then when we get to the verse, everything drops out, but this one little space right here. So I didn't leave the loop like running static throughout the entire thing. You see what I'm saying? Like I kept the loop. I broke it down for those spaces. You know what I mean? That's a key component to doing your loops and making sure that you're producing your loops. As my guy Dave Outing always says, produce your loops. You got to make sure it's not distracting.
I've overcome by the blood of the Lamb.
So it's like it's there, not there. You know what I mean? It's just adding some other thing. So another thing that I love to do with the loop is break it when there are things going on. So when there's something major going on, like a line. So we go here. So right before we get into the chorus, it just cuts. Then it comes back in, right? So here's what happens right here in that moment. There's a line that comes there. I'm gonna show you other places where it does it. The loop cuts completely here. I found that loops, when you have something static going, it tends to get in the way when you're doing lines. Lines need to sing. Lines need to kind of, you know, have their space to kind of breathe. And if you got something busy going on in your percussion track, and you got you got something going on in there, that loop and all of the busyness and the syncopation of that is going to get in the way of what's going on musically. So I'll show you a couple of other examples where I broke the loop. So right here, we're in the second verse of the song, right? So it's going full on. And it stops. We got that in there. but I gave space. So what's going on right there? Let's check out what went on in that spot.
He will give you a garment
And then it comes back in. You see what I'm saying? And then there's another space you can see it like right in here where we broke it again, right in this little gap, because what's going on right there? So you see how much cleaner that line feels when you got space for it to kind of breathe, you know what I mean, in the midst of all of that, because that's a type of line or progression that is actually kind of retarding, so to speak. It is slowing down. It's kind of off-putting, off rhythm, and we're kind of transitioning. Now, it doesn't actually break they don't go off grid. It doesn't go off grid, but it's syncopated in the rhythm. So if I got this static loop going, I'm going to lose transition in there. And so again, we break down into this part here with the hymn, and there's no loop. There's no loop in this part at all. No loop, none. Like this whole section, it actually does not come back in until we get into the vamp. One, because I wanted this part to feel more intimate. You know what I mean? I wanted it to feel very kind of like we're in church. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when we dig into the mixing aspect of it, of how I wanted to present this whole piece of the song. I wanted it to be very intimate, almost like her, the piano, and the organ. And if you got, again, production stuff, if you got a loop that's just there is power, wonder working power, you know, it's messing with what's going on in that moment. And so as producers, as arrangers, you have to think about what serves the song best. And when I started looking at it and listening to it, because I kind of broke down the loop and just kind of went to what was kind of like in the verse. And I was like, nah, that takes away from the song. So there's no rule that says that the loop has to go. In fact, it has to go through the whole song. In fact, it's best when you can give the loop and spaces to breathe. So you can see all of these gaps that I cut out of the loop. And I'm going to show you some other spots where it really gets really, really good. So there's nothing going on right here. Then it comes back in. We add in a shaker right here. This is the first time the shaker comes in. And then we add in some claps right here. See what I'm saying? So it's all of the previous efforts or elements, rather. But we added in claps and a shaker to help this part really move. Now, you can't hear all that. Of course, that's all drowned in the rest of the mix, right? But it's one of those things, those elements that, pun intended, that if it's missing, you'll know it's gone. See how much life went out of the song just muting the loop or muting the percussion. That's what happens there. So next thing we did was in this big section, I wanted it to be really, really big. So we added in more claps, and then that's where the line comes in. See how it all dropped out? What was going on right there? Let's see what's going on right there. There's a whole line going on right there. So when we get to this part, this is where it really drives. Pull in big claps, like 4 on the 4. Even though it's 6/8, we did 4 on the 4 claps. You know what I mean? To make it really, really, really fat. And we added in the stomps. So again, I wanted to highlight that line, so I deleted that part out of there. right at in that section. So that's where this line, this special line of the song. See how it comes in. So when you get that whole section in the context, so it really drives home, the perk does, in that whole section. And then on the back end, we just kind of cut it off. Now there's this big explosion part that happens. So you gotta make your impacts count. You know what I'm saying? Don't just have them, just smack them, you know? See what I'm saying? That's how you produce your loops. Listen, I appreciate you for making it to the end of this clip. This is a clip from our live Mix Monday show that we do live here on the channel. So make sure you subscribe with those bell notifications turned on so you don't miss a literal beat when we drop the